Welcome to part 4 of this Football Manager 2018 experiment where I've given the English top 6 Premier League teams a transfer embargo for 50 years. We've caused some carnage so far in parts 1 to 3. If you haven't watched those, please go and check it out first so you know what's happened so far in this experiment. As always, if you are enjoying this experiment, it'd be much appreciated if you can hit that like button. Now, in this part 4, the plan is to holiday another 6 seasons into the future. That's the format that I've been doing. But if you guys like the sound of this, I think in part 5, what I will do is I'll holiday to the end of the embargo, so the 2067 season. That'll be 50 years into the future from the start of the experiment. So that would be part 5. And we'll see where the clubs are at, where the top 6 clubs are at, and who is dominating English football at the moment. And then in part 6, which I think would be the last part, we'll holiday a few years after the embargo to see if the top 6 teams can recover and get back to the Premier League, or will they get stuck in the depths of English football? We'll see. But first of all, let's get on with part 4. Let's focus on this part. You can see the top 6 teams in England: Everton, West Ham, Watford, Ipswich, Palace and Newcastle. Ipswich have done really well on this to get out the Championship and then feature in the top 6 major clubs in England. Newcastle also have done quite well. They were relegated back in 2023, but since their recovery they've done alright, and they do seem to be steadily growing under the management of Morgan Schneiderlin, their 4-star continental team with rich finances. Now, Everton, best team in England, 4.5 stars. They don't have a manager though because they didn't win the title this year. West Ham did win the title. They've got Jair Ventura, a Brazilian, in charge, 4.5-star reputation team as well. 10 points clear of Ipswich Town, who themselves, 4-star, rich team. They've got Almeida in charge, an Argentinian. They're doing really well. Since getting promoted, they've done exceptionally well. Palace doing well, Watford doing well. They've managed to win the title, of course. Don't think Crystal Palace have managed to win it yet. Their time might come. We'll see. West Ham have managed to win 5 titles now. Everton have won it twice. Watford have also won it twice. We've only seen 3 different winners, but I kind of feel like it will start to get a bit more competitive. Or perhaps we'll see just a new top 6, a new traditional top 6 in England, and those 6 teams will fight it out for the title. So we might not see much change really. Obviously the old top 6, they've all declined, they've all dropped off, but they've just been replaced by, I guess this bunch of teams are fighting to try and become the new Manchester United, try and become the new Liverpool of England, I guess. That I suppose that's what they have. Ipswich improved their facilities? Oh, they have. They've got the Bobby Robson Arena, 41,888 seater stadium. So they've obviously improved reputation-wise. They've got better. They've decided to build a much better stadium. Everton, have they built a new stadium? Goodison Park's been increased to 50,000 seater stadium. Of course, West Ham have the London Stadium. Crystal Palace, I think that's an increased capacity, isn't it? 32,000. Then Watford, have they managed to increase their capacity? Oh, they've built a new stadium, 46,853. It was only built 5 years ago, as you can see there. So these clubs spending the money, improving their stadiums, they're not up there with the likes of Manchester United in terms of attendance. But you can see Hull City, they built a new stadium only 2 years ago, the Lucas Torreira Park, 36,982 seater stadium. Mahrez is in charge, by the way, and we've still got that chap Joe Daniels, who they signed from Manchester United on a free, playing really, really well for them. 109 caps for England at the age of 31. Anyway, let's focus on the top 6 then, because you may have noticed, whilst I was rambling away, Liverpool relegated back to the Championship. Arsenal survive by 1 single point. So Arsenal have kind of turned into the most successful of the top 6 because they have managed to stay up. Obviously, Man United won the league multiple times. Arsenal never won anything at the start of this experiment. But in terms of sustainability, they're doing much better, because we might see Manchester United get relegated all the way to the Vanarama National League like Spurs. And what's the point in winning those 5 titles at the start of this experiment if you're going to end up at that level? At least Arsenal are sort of in and around the Premier League and the Championship and giving themselves a chance of being competitive when the embargo ends, I guess. Liverpool, on the other hand, they were relegated. Now, they've had some brilliant players, and they still have them. Well, they've still got 3 of them. McIntosh has dropped off now that he's 32. Raphael, really good player, but he never quite reached that level, did he? But Mick Jeffers, now 27 years old, he's a world-class talented player, 64 caps for his country. I don't know how they've managed to hold on to so many talented players over the years, but they've done it. But now they've been relegated back to the Championship, we'll have to see if Mick Jeffers still stays around at Liverpool. Their manager is Antonio Silveira, by the way. Let's go down to the Championship, where Brentford, Aston Villa and Brighton were promoted ahead of Manchester United. They finished third, but they failed in the playoffs with Dan Pironi in charge. Their key player is Leon Duffy. Looks like a good player, 14 caps for his country, but they were not good enough to get promoted back to the Premier League at the first time of asking. Remember, they've kind of turned into a yo-yo club. It's amazing, really. Manchester United, the yo-yo club, after winning the title 5 years in a row. They managed to return to win it only 5 years ago, but since then they have dropped off. This is the current squad. I've just sorted it by current ability rating, so their best player is Leon Duffy, as you can see there. Thomas Stott, also a decent player, but they didn't really have any outstanding players here this season, despite finishing third. That's very strange to see such low average ratings there. The other teams to feature then in the Championship, we've still got Chelsea in here, who finished 11th, and Man City, who finished 14th. So Chelsea have Shaquille Coulthurst. I'm terrible at pronunciations, I do apologise as usual. But they're down to 3-star national reputation now. It's not going to plan. They've got Mohamed Tantouche is their best player, as you can see there. Let's just look at their facilities a second. So they have expanded to a 52,000-seater stadium since the start of this experiment. But you know, what are they getting through the doors? Let's have a look. First home game was 39,000. They're not filling the new stadium, well, the new expanded stadium whatsoever, because now they're in the Championship. Manchester United, what are they getting? Let's have a quick look. They must be getting more because they've got a bigger stadium. So 50,000 for that first game. So there's still 25,000 people not turning up, and I'm assuming the Old Trafford hasn't been. Yeah, it's still 75,000 seater stadium. Man City finished down in 14th then. They've turned into a Championship team, haven't they, of late? We'll have to see if they can get promoted again, but they've spent 4 years in the Championship now. They're down to 3-star reputation team. They've still got 55,000 seater stadium, and they're getting 39,000, 40,000 people through the door. 43,000 for that match, for example. So yeah, I don't know what the future holds for Manchester City. Are they just going to sustain themselves at Championship level because of their impressive youth facilities, youth academy? Will it be good enough to sustain them, or will the best players that come through be sold? But then there's a lot of players that the likes of Man City, Chelsea produce who end up at Championship level anyway because they're not good enough for the top 6 teams. So those players, instead of being sold to a Championship team, they may stay at Man City and Chelsea and actually sustain them at Championship level for the next, well, they've still got 30 years to go to try and sustain themselves, remember. It's a long old time to try and stay at this level. Anyway, let's go down and have a look where Spurs are, because remember, they had a resurgence, but then they were relegated back down from League One. Have they managed to survive in League Two? They have, but only by 2 points. 2 points above Cheltenham. Well, I mean, they're really topsy-turvy, aren't they? Look at this decline. Then they had a nice growth here, up to League One, relegated. And now they're almost relegated out of the Football League once again. They've only got a 2-star regional reputation, remember. They just can't seem to produce a better player than this chap, Victor Joseph, who's a Trinbagonian. I didn't realise that's what it was for Trinidad and Tobago, but Trinbagonian goalkeeper with 63 caps. He's their best player, and I think a lot of their youth talent that they are producing is just getting mopped up by better teams, basically. Richie Powell's their new player to come through, but we have seen other players with 150 potential ability, and they've just not managed to hold on to them. Look at all these players going out. Regan Howe, he was their star man. We thought he'd be a good player. He had 157 potential. He's now 18 years old, and he's moved to Southampton. He's on loan at Exeter, but they sold him for only 675k, rising to 1.3 million. That's just nothing, is it? They've still got extensive youth recruitment, superb youth facilities, superb training facilities. You know, they've got great youth stuff here, but they're failing to hold on to them, understandably so. And New White Hart Lane is it's a white elephant, isn't it? 22,000 people turned up for their match against Ipswich. Checkatrade Trophy, 2,000 people in that 76,000 seater stadium. I know no one cares about that competition, but still, 21,000. So yeah, it's not looking good for Spurs once again. Crystal Palace have managed to win the league. I thought that would eventually happen. They've had a really good time on this save, and they easily won the league. Only 3 losses all season against the big boys, Ipswich, West Ham and Everton. 95 points. West Ham, Ipswich and Newcastle have managed to break into that top 4 finally, which is good to see. I think they will go on and improve even further. Arsenal almost relegated, but they survived by a point once again. I mean, they are dicing with death, aren't they? With Tom Taiwo in charge of the club. He's been in charge for a year and a half now. They seem to be relatively happy with him, I think. Facilities-wise, they've still got 60,000 seats at Emirates Stadium. They've got brilliant facilities all round, as you'd expect a Premier League team to have. It's not like they've been relegated to... They're not in the Championship now. They're in the Premier League. They're getting that TV money. They must be rich. Let's have a look using the in-game editor. Finance. Look at all that money. The transfer budget. I mean, it's massive, but they can't spend it. They're not allowed to spend that money. The wage budget is, what's that? 5 million. That is really, really big. But they're just not able to use it. So they're having to spend their money on, their own youth talent. Their best player is Bardoku, still playing for the club with 9 caps for his country. Interesting. They technically signed him. Is there a way that, because there's a transfer embargo, they can sign players from other youth academies? Or is that an affiliate, in fact? Let's have a look at Arsenal. Perhaps they're an affiliate. No, they're not. They've only got 2 affiliates now. Interesting in itself that they don't really have many affiliates. How did they get that player then? There must be some way around it because of having a youth... I suppose if they're under the age of 15 or something, there's always transfers between youth academies at a very young age, but you don't really hear about it. So perhaps that's what's happened there. Because I doubt it will show up in the transfer history if we just go back. No, there's literally nothing here because that doesn't count as a transfer. It's just a transfer between youth academies almost. Like they must have signed him on a free from the youth academy or something like that. But anyway, it hasn't really had much of an impact. I know he's their best player, but he's not single-handedly keeping Arsenal in the Premier League, I don't think. Anyway, let's go down to the Championship, where Burnley, Middlesbrough and Chelsea have been promoted back to the top flight. Brendan Rodgers still in charge of the club, by the way. No, actually, that's interesting. Who was he in charge of before? Yeah, he was in charge of Chelsea before. It's his second stint in charge of Chelsea. That's really quite random. He's back at the club, and he's got them promoted this time. They're up to 3.5-star reputation, by the way. But you can see they beat Man United and Liverpool, who also got into the playoffs. They were a long way behind the top 2, as you can see there, but... wow, what a playoffs that is. Chelsea, Man United and Liverpool involved. Let's look at the Chelsea squad. Tantu's still their best player, as you can see there. Lots of players between 120 to 140 odd current ability. Good level for the Championship. Liverpool, did they hold on to these players then? Have they still got him? No, they don't. They don't have Mick, whatever his name, Mick Jeffers. Let's have a look. Where did he go? Where is he? Mick Jeffers has gone to West Ham United on a free. So his contract ran out at Liverpool when they were relegated, and he's moved to West Ham. What a player this guy is, by the way. What a player. Anyway, so now they're not able to hold on to their star men. They were unable to get promoted back to the Premier League at the first time of asking. They've still got Paul McIntosh, club legend, 108 caps for England as well. He's 33, so he has dropped off from that world-class ability that he did have, but he's remained loyal to Liverpool his entire career. What a hero he is. I wonder if he's on the Legends thing. Let's have a look. There he is. He's a legend of the club, along with Trent Alexander-Arnold, Gerrard, Roberto Firmino is a club legend, and Kenny Dalglish, of course. But yeah, Paul McIntosh on that list. Oh, that's good to see that they've still been able to produce a legend, even though they've it's not really gone to plan for them lately, I suppose. Who else? Manchester United. So they are still at this level. They've got Sandro in charge of the club. 3.5-star national reputation. This is the team that they have and failed to get out of the Championship. Of course, Leon Duffy is still their best player. 16 caps for England. They all finished above Man City, though. Have turned into a mid-table Championship team with T.S. Browning in charge now. 3-star reputation team. This is their squad. Nigel Joyce is their best player. He's got 23 caps for England. He's a good goalkeeper, and he's decided to stay at championship level. They've still got the Spanish guy as well, Pelayo, who's not bad either. Looking at their transfers, they don't really sell many players for much money. We've not seen many big transfers in general out of these clubs. Oh, James Hogg going to Brighton, £32.5 million. That was a big transfer. It's incredible. And then Ipswich signed him. It's incredible seeing some of these transfers away from big teams, usually on freeze because the contracts are run out. But this player did actually move for a big fee, so Man City would have pocketed all that money. How are Spurs getting on then in League 2? So slow to scroll down. Now with Holiday quite far into the future, it's such a big file. It's so laborious. Look at that. It takes ages to load. Here we are, League 2 then. And they have survived once again quite easily as well. They finished mid-table in League 2. Spurs finishing on 55 points with Charlie Lee as manager at the moment. This is the squad. Their best player still Victor Joseph, the Trinidad and Tobago goalkeeper. I don't think they're going to improve much now. They just can't seem to produce players and hang on to them. Now they're at this level, they're in a really tricky place. They're going to have to find some sort of formula to get promoted into League 1. If they can get to the Championship, then they have a chance. We've seen the other teams yo-yo in between the Championship and the Premier League, but now they're stuck at this level. It's really hard for them. Ipswich Town are champions of England for the first time in about, 60, 70 years now. We're in 2038. Well done to them. It really is deserved because they've done phenomenally well to get out of the Championship and then go on and really put their mark on the Premier League. They finished 13 points clear of West Ham. Everton and Palace make up the top 4. Newcastle once again up there. Watford towards the top of the table. Reading have done particularly well on this save as well. But as you can see there, Chelsea relegated, rock bottom of the Premier League. Arsenal survive again though. Well done to Arsenal. They just seem to be clinging on, don't they? They've been relegated twice, but only for one season. They've been promoted straight back again both times. So it's quite impressive that they've managed to sustain themselves at this level. They've just sold Bardoku to Fulham for £20 million. He was their best player, remember. But they've still got some quality players, 148 current ability. Danny Lobjoit, great name, and looks like a good player. He's got 10 caps for England and he's only 21. So pinning their hopes on him for the next few years, I think, at the back in particular. Chelsea, though, terrible season from them with Alex Mowat as manager. Relegated straight away. They spent quite a few years in the Championship, remember. Promoted only for 1 year. And that's a little bit disappointing. You can see they didn't sell anyone this year. They were back in the Championship, Premier League. They didn't need to sell anyone. But the team wasn't good enough. Their best player, Tantouche, didn't have a very good season at all. 6.54 average rating. Absolutely atrocious season from Chelsea. Their top goal scorer was Ashley Woodman with 9 goals. Not great at all. Down to the Championship then, and Man City have improved massively, finishing 3rd, but they didn't get promoted. Southampton, Wednesday and Derby County promoted. Man United and Man City both miss out in the playoffs. Liverpool all the way down in 21st. They're only 6 points above the relegation zone. Dreadful season. That's their worst season yet. Now that they've lost their star players and their world-class talent, they're having a torrid time. Man City, on the other hand, they have improved. I'm not really sure why, but perhaps some of their youngsters have got to that age where they can compete at Championship level. They've still got Nigel Joyce. They've got Milovanovic, who looks like a decent player as well at this level. Top goal scorer Simon Newell with 31 goals this season. That is very impressive. He looks like a top quality Championship finisher, doesn't he? I don't know if he'll be able to do it in the Premier League if they do get promoted, but perhaps a Premier League team will fancy giving him a chance, so they might not be able to hang on to him for much longer. Manchester United missed out in 6th place as well. They've now got Gimba, the German, in charge of the club. They've been through quite a few managers since Mourinho, haven't they? Can't seem to get the right formula to get promoted back to the Premier League. This is their 3rd season in the Championship now, and they're probably worried that they're going to get stuck for a bit, and the longer you get stuck, the more risk you are at of perhaps getting relegated even further, which would be crazy considering a lot of you thought Man United would survive in the Premier League the whole time. But 6th in the Championship, it's still good. They still could get promoted next season, I suppose, but they just have to be careful they don't get stuck for too long. And if these players are impressing by actually finishing quite high up, they might attract Premier League teams to come in and nick their best players, and that could be a problem. Liverpool Really, really bad season under Neil Critchley this season. You can see they sold 2 players for big money. Scott Mackay went to Aston Villa in the Premier League for £17 million. So they lost him, and they also lost Nico Daniel, an English international, 1 goal in one game for England. He went to Aston Villa as well for £33 million. So they've missed out. They're missing a couple of really good players. You can see here they've got an all-right championship level squad, but it just didn't perform this year. Their top goal scorer, John Morgan, 15 goals. Didn't have a very good average rating though. 10 finishing, 8 composure. How is he scoring goals? I have no idea. But yeah, if it wasn't for him, I think they'd have been relegated to League One. Have Spurs been promoted then? Let's see. Or have they been relegated even further down the football pyramid? Let's have a look. They have gone down. They're out of the Football League once again. They've been up and down between bottom of League 2 into League 1, Vanarama National League. They're back in the Vanarama National League. That is dreadful from Tottenham. They sold 1 player this season, and the rest of the squad it wasn't good. In fact, they've lost their goalkeeper. He must have gone on a free. And their best player, 100 current ability. Everyone else has under 100 current ability. They are in trouble. They're in really, really big trouble. I don't know if they'll be able to recover from this one, because they're back in the Vanarama National League. Let's have a look at the most recent FA Cups then. Ipswich have won it twice out of the last 3 years. Everton have won it twice out of the last 4 years, as you can see there. So they seem to be the dominating teams at the moment in the Cups. Let's go down to the Carabao Cup. Ipswich have won the most recent one against Blackburn. West Ham won the 2 previous ones to that though. Those are the Community Shield winners over the last few years, by the way. I haven't shown that before. Champions League wise, we haven't seen an English winner yet. I don't think we will for a while. We're waiting for the likes of Ipswich, West Ham, Everton to just get used to the Champions League. I think they're not really known for Champions League football at all, but they are very well known for Europa League football, because as you can see there, we had English winners 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row. Inter have won the most recent one, but Palace and Watford, the 2 winners previous to that. It's been really successful competition for English teams. Okay, let's holiday another year. What is happening to Spurs? They finished bottom of the Vanarama National League in the 2038-39 season. That is unbelievable. They've only just been relegated from League 2, and now they're going to be playing in the Vanarama National League South. It has gone horribly wrong for them. Horribly, horribly wrong. They're down to 1.5 star reputation. They've got this chap, a regen manager. He doesn't look too bad at the coaching side of things. Not so great mentally. But, oh dear, it's gone terribly wrong. And how are they going to recover? They might be relegated completely down to the sort of regional leagues below the Vanarama National League. Will they be able to sustain themselves at this level? They've got a 76,000-seater stadium in the Vanarama National League South. You can see here they had their first league game of the season, still attracted close to 20,000 people at this level. That's not bad. But what about by the end of the season, when they were pretty much relegated? They were the same. To be fair to, I don't know if the game actually accounts for this, but to be fair to the Spurs fans, about 20,000 people consistently turned up for these matches throughout the season, despite the fact they got relegated once again. Their best player is Wickenden, 22-year-old. They just, any player they produce now is just going to get snapped up straight away. And even if they get lots of money, they can't do anything with it, apart from continue to sustain their facilities, I suppose. Make sure they stay at a professional level and hope that they can get promoted, or just stay at this level until the embargo is over and then try and work their way back up the leagues. Financially, they've got a lot of money. Is that 34 million to spend, or is that 340 million? 34 million, I think, to spend, which they can't spend, of course. So, yeah, 40 million in the bank as well. I'm not sure what's happened to all their money. Maybe they went into debt. I don't know. They should really have more money than that. But I suppose they haven't been in the Premier League for so long. All their TV money ended then. And since then, it's just been gate receipts, I suppose, sponsorship and that sort of thing. Anyway, gone horribly wrong for Tottenham Hotspur on this experiment. Let's go up then and have a look at how the other teams have got on. This was League 2. No teams in there at the moment. League 1. And the Championship. Let's see what's happened. None of the teams have been promoted. Where are they? Liverpool in 7th, Man City in 8th, and Man United in 9th, with Chelsea down in 18th place. Arsenal, remember, still in the Premier League. We'll have a look to see how they're getting on in a second. But this is the Liverpool team. They've got the Croatian right back in charge. I won't even bother trying to pronounce his name. 3-star reputation. They've got some good players for this level. They've done all right, Liverpool, I think. Overall, I think they've done all right. They've not won anything, I don't think. They might have won a cup competition. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But this is their third season in the Championship now. And I think they're probably starting to think they're going to get stuck. But they were all these three teams were close to the playoffs this time round. Man City have Brad Potts in charge of the club. Now, they're basically changing their manager every year. All the clubs now. They're just not happy. Simon Newell still at the club, scoring goals. Jason Thompson looks like a good player as well. Lots of assists, as you can see there. And Man United finished down in 9th this season with Benedict Gimba. He's still in charge. Still 3.5-star reputation team, by the way. And their best player is still Leon Duffy. But they've stopped producing these world-class talented players. But then again, I suppose I might not see them because they might already have been bought as soon as they've been produced. Chelsea have Will Hoskins in charge now. Still a 3.5-star reputation team as well. But since getting relegated back to the Championship, their first season, pretty poor really. Their best player still Ashley Woodman. He was their top goal scorer, but he didn't get enough goals to fire them up the table. And the Premier League, Arsenal have finally been relegated once again. West Ham champions for the first time in 3 years. So they've managed, I think they're the most successful team so far. Crystal Palace, Ipswich, Reading, Newcastle, Everton also all doing very well. But Arsenal relegated with 18 points. Tom Tye was still in charge, down to 3-star reputation team. Their best player, Danny Lobjot, he just couldn't turn up. 6.38 average rating, that is terrible. Their top goal scorer was Tommy Phillip with 10 goals, but he got a terrible average rating as well. So, yeah, Arsenal relegated. Next season will be the first season, I think, without any of the traditional top 6 teams in the Premier League. So we've got 2 more seasons to analyse in this part 4. We'll just quickly look at the Premier League because, obviously, we don't have any of the teams in here anymore. But Ipswich Town have managed to win the league for the second time in 3 years. Well done to Ipswich Town. They've actually not got a manager anymore. 4.5-star worldwide reputation. I'm just going to have a quick look at their finances. Yeah, they are... I mean, their transfer budget is huge. It's bigger than their bank balance. That is an incredible transfer budget. What have they been spending? Spent £209 million last season. They did sell a lot of players as well, but they have been spending lots of money, and the rewards are coming. They really are. They've been doing absolutely brilliantly. Palace, Reading, West Ham make up the top 4. Everton, Newcastle and Watford close behind, doing very well as well on this save. Let's go down to the Championship then, where Man City have managed to get promoted back to the top flight. So we're only going to have 1 year without one of these top 6 teams in the top division. Man City have done really well, but massive shock, Manchester United have been relegated to League One. How has that happened? They've been they were doing reasonably well, but what did I say? The more years you get stuck in the Championship, the more likely you're going to go down. And it's happened. It's come true. They've finished on 39 points, 3 below MK Dons, who survived. That is incredible. Chelsea up in 9th, by the way, and Liverpool in 13th, with Arsenal just above them in 12th. Manchester United relegated to... Who would have thought they'd be the second team to get relegated to League One? I doubt any of you thought that. I think most of you probably thought these teams would just get stuck in the Championship. But Manchester United did the second team to get relegated out of the Championship after Tottenham Hotspur. Whereas Man City, their rivals, have just been promoted. Mirror image season. Brad Potts leads them back to the promised land with Milavanovic, their best player, the goalkeeper, with 1 cap for England. They seem to be good at producing good goalkeepers. Simon Newell still scoring goals. This was ironically his worst season out of the last 3 years, but contributed massively to their promotion. Luke Murphy, second top goal scorer for them. Man City back in the big time. How will they cope next year? We'll have Holiday 1 more season in this part. Chelsea, 69 points. Will Hoskins still in charge of the club. Arsenal, mid-table with Anthony Rayston in charge, and Liverpool, Peter Pekarek in charge of the club. They're a 3-star reputation as well. But let's have a quick little focus on Manchester United, who have Nathaniel Chalobah managing them. Why did they get relegated? What happened? They've got some good players. Leon Duffy's a good player, got a good average rating this season. But the rest of the team, it looks like they let them down, and Despite having, I would say, a good enough team to survive in the Championship, on paper, they were unable to do so. But is there hope for the future? Will they be able to produce a team that can get them promoted from League One straight away? They've got some good looking youngsters here that could be good enough at Championship level in the future, but possibly not good enough for League One level. But this guy, Nigel Chambers, 15-year-old, one for the future, if they can hang on to him. That is the big if, isn't it? There's League One. League 2, we're going to have to go a long way down to see Spurs now. That's League 2. Manchester United will be playing Southport next season in League 1. That's amazing, isn't it? This is the Vanarama National League. Charlton have just been promoted from that. Vanarama National League North, which I haven't had to go down this far before on this experiment, but we have to now. This is the Vanarama National League South then, where Tottenham Hotspur finished 12th mid-table, so at least they've stopped the rot. They haven't been relegated again, but that 1.5 star reputation, it's not looking good for them. Richard Rees is their manager, by the way. Used to be manager of Southport until recently. And this is the team. Their best player has 92 players with 95 current ability. And that Nigerian international, he's still playing for Nigeria. It's really strange. Like, Nigeria are usually a good team. They're 12th in the world rankings, but strangely, they're still playing the Spurs player. It doesn't make any sense. Why are they playing him? Is he in the current squad? He's not actually in the current squad, but considering they're the 12th best team in the world, and they've managed to get this guy, give him 51 caps, and he's only got 95 current ability, that is really strange. It does look like Spurs have levelled out a bit, I think. We hope. I mean, it could be completely. I could be completely wrong. They might get relegated next season. So this is the last season of this part 4. I will look at World Cup, World Player of the Year, that sort of thing at the end of today's video. But as you can see, Manchester City were relegated straight away from the Premier League with 22 points. They only won 4 games all season, beating Leicester twice, strangely enough. But yeah, absolutely awful season from them. Ipswich Town have managed to retain their title. They've won 3 out of the last 4 seasons. They are the team to beat. West Ham and Newcastle quite far behind them. That is quite some achievement from Ipswich. This is the Man City team then. They've got Sergi Palencia in charge. Still a 3-star reputation team. Milovanovic, still their best player. England goalkeeper. But he wasn't able to... He had a good season. If it hadn't been for him, it would have been even worse by the looks of it. I presume they had a lot of people turn up because they're back in the Premier League. Yeah, not the Carabao Cup, but Premier League-wise, they had a decent turnout for most games. Not as good, really. Now it's... Well, this one was 55,000 against West Ham because of West Ham's reputation, I think. It should be the other way round. But yeah, it's amazing. Newell scored 10 goals, by the way, at this level. So he's not really... I mean, that's all right, but it needs to be better, doesn't it? Down to the Championship then. We saw Man United get relegated from this division last season, and there's not been any more relegations. Arsenal finished 7th, Liverpool finished 10th, and Chelsea finished 18th, but no team has managed to get into the playoffs once again this year. Arsenal have Tony Lato in charge, and this is the squad. Lobjot's still there, by the way, but not having a very good season once again. Liverpool, down in 10th place, have got Angelino in charge. Great name. And this is their squad. It's just average, isn't it? Are they producing any good youngsters? It doesn't look like it, does it? Oh, they have. Mick Knight. He's the new hero that they're going to rely on. Mick Knight has 180 potential ability. But once again, will they be able to hang on to them? It's going to be difficult when they're stuck in the Championship. Chelsea all the way down in 18th with Sammy as manager. Are they going to be the next team to get relegated to League One? Or will we stop? Well, maybe we won't see any more relegations. This guy, Ashley Woodman's still at the club, by the way. And they've got someone who's got good potential there. They sold anyone recently? They did sell Shane Boyce for £3 million. He's a 28-year-old, solid-looking player, but they've lost him. How did Man United get on then? Wow! Relegated from League One down to League 2, 1 point below Coventry City. Manchester United. The glory days are officially over. In the top flight for God knows how many years. And now they're out. They're down to League 2. They won the league 5 seasons in a row at the start of this experiment. Defied the odds brilliantly. And now, who'd have thought it? I mean, a lot of you were saying in the comments, you think Man United will survive in the Premier League the entire time. But look at this. They're out of League One now. And what? Oh, now you have to watch part 5, guys. Cliffhanger alert. You're going to have to watch part 5 to see if Manchester United can recover. Like I said, in part 5, I will holiday to the end of the embargo, so they've got plenty of time to try and recover. I'm assuming you guys don't really want me to just continue this 6-season format indefinitely, so that's why I thought it'd probably be best to holiday until the end of the embargo for part 5. But wow, it's pretty awful for Man United. I mean, they still have tons of money, but they just can't spend it for another 26 years. And it's looking a bit worrying for them. They've sold quite a few players this season as well, as you can see here. James Bell went to Southampton, Reece Owen, Josh Holmes, top players for them, have left the club. So, we'll have to see what happens. But they do have some good youngsters. Nigel Chambers, 172 potential ability, central midfielder. We'll keep an eye on him, well, in fact, we probably won't keep an eye on him because in 26 years' time he'll be retired by the end of the embargo. They have really been through the managers as well lately. Okay, well, that's made part 5 even more interesting with Manchester United getting relegated down to League 2. This is League 2, but remember Spurs are in the Vanarama National League South now. To go a long way down to see them, let's have a look. This is the Vanarama National League North, which was won by Darlington most recently. And then the Vanarama National League South, which was won by Crawley. Tottenham finished 4th, so there looks to be a bit of life left in them, but they were unable to get promoted from the playoffs with Richard Rees still in charge of the club. Have they been able to produce any good players that will be able to fire them up the leagues? Well, they don't want to produce players that are too good now. They want someone who's got like 110, 120 potential that possibly will stay at Tottenham and get them promoted up the league. So these players here, they might be able to hang on to them. They've produced another Nigerian, by the way. Anyway, let's look at the Cup. Last 3 years, Watford, Reading and Crystal Palace have been the winners. So Ipswich, Everton and West Ham, who were dominating previously, are missing out on the FA Cups. But the Carabao Cup, last 3 years, West Ham twice, Ipswich once. Look at that. West Ham, Ipswich, West Ham, Ipswich. And this is the Community Shield. So, Champions League. Have we seen an English winner finally? Yes, we have. And it's Crystal Palace of all people, beating PSG in Moscow to win the 2038-39 Champions League title. Crystal Palace were the champions of Europe. And Brendan Rodgers is in charge, by the way. He's only been in charge for the last year. You can see it must have been... Oh, it's Luka Modric that led Crystal Palace to the Champions League title. They also managed to win the Club World Championship here, as you can see. And he also won the Premier League with Crystal Palace. What an achievement. And he won the Euro Cup, remember? Back in 2036. What a brilliant achievement for Crystal Palace and Luka Modric. They've expanded to 40,000-seater, by the way. And... this is absolutely fascinating. They have a 5-star reputation team. They must be like top of the world. There's a way to look that up, isn't there? We'll have a look in a second. But let's look at the Euro Cup next. See if there's been any more English winners. We haven't seen any more English winners, but Newcastle and Watford have been runners-up most recently. England currently 7th in the world rankings. They were as high as 3rd recently with Brad Potts as manager. Now he was in charge of Man City. He got them promoted, remember? Then he became manager of of England in the last year, and he's having a fine old time in charge of England. Mick Jeffers, by the way, remember him? Moved on a free to West Ham. He is England's best player now. What a star he is! Let's have a look at the squad to see the clubs that are featuring. We've still got Man City featuring Arsenal, but obviously no Manchester United these days, with them going down to League 2. Let's look at Europe then. I think we can see major clubs here. So, reputation-wise, we've got Crystal Palace, 5-star reputation. They're the only English team with 5 stars at the moment. That is impressive from Palace. Ipswich have 4.5 stars. West Ham have 4.5 stars. Is there a way to look at... stadium info. These are the biggest stadiums in Europe. So Crystal Palace have... Oh, there we go. That's sorted them perfectly. So Stoke City... What? Why is Stoke playing at Old Trafford? Why? What? Stadium name Old Trafford. Are they just playing there temporarily? Yeah, here we go. They're playing at Old Trafford for the time being whilst they prepare the Bet365 stadium. It's going to be 54,000-seater stadium. So they've been playing in Manchester United Stadium, getting all right attendances whilst Manchester United have been relegated from League One. Let's just have a look. So teams playing there. Manchester United still obviously playing there, and they managed to get 41,000 people turn up. So they're still getting bigger attendances than Stoke at Old Trafford, despite being in League One this season. I think it's similar attendances. That's quite funny, really. Oh, this is amazing. What absolutely brilliant stuff we're seeing here. West Ham have a big stadium, of course, the London Stadium. It's gone up to 61,500 people now, as you can see there. Newcastle, St James's Park, Bobby Robson Arena for Ipswich. They've gone up to 52,369 people now. And then Everton with Goodison Park. We've got Watford and Aston Villa, Villa Park, Crystal Palace, got 40,000, Sheffield Wednesday. Reading, gone up to 36,000 seater stadium now. This is fascinating. I'm absolutely loving this. Premier League is the top competition in Europe, by the way. This is the rankings. I wanted to look at finances. There's finances. We can only see English teams for some reason. But this is the Crystal Palace have the biggest turnover in England. Ipswich second, Reading, West Ham. Man United still 10th, despite being relegated to League Two. They've still got the 10th best turnover in the country, with Arsenal down in 11th, Man City 19th, Chelsea 23rd, Liverpool 29th, and God knows where Spurs are. They're down in 50th with a £1 million turnover, as you can see there. World Cup then. Germany have managed to beat Brazil. This is amazing. Brazil, Germany, Brazil, Germany. And the Euros, last three winners, Portugal, Spain and France. France just beat England in the most recent competition. Let's have a look at the World Golden Ball. Have we seen an English winner yet? We've seen a West Ham player and English player win it. Mick Jeffers went through the Liverpool Youth Academy, remember. World-class potential, finally left on a free after many years' service to Liverpool. And he's managed to win the World Golden Ball with West Ham. That's amazing. Claudio Bravo, another Claudio Bravo, managed to win it. Central midfielder. Have we seen any other English players featuring? I don't think so. Maybe in World Team of the Year. There's Mick Jeffers there, as you would expect. I've absolutely loved this experiment so far, and there's still a long way to go. But like I said, in part 5, I will holiday to 2067 to see how the top 6 teams have got on, see who's dominating English football. And then part 6 will holiday a bit further after that to see if they can make a recovery. But thank you for watching today's part 4. Until next time, enjoy FM18, and I'll see you very soon.